Now, Cisco documentation, so you can read ideally a lot of white papers, which are very good documents in general, and configuration guides, command references. So configuration guides is going to be basically the iOS configuration guide for different features. Command references is going to be details of how a specific command works in case you have to look it up. Now, I don't want to basically, let's say, get you sidetracked or but what I'm trying to say is that as you read Cisco's documentation and any book in general, at the CCNA level, you're not going to be able to spot any errors. Now, books tend to be in general less tend to have less errors. So Cisco's and other vendors' books that you can find on Safari Online or Amazon or whatever tend to have less errors, but the documentation tends to have quite a lot more errors and also a lot more misconfigurations being presented. So unfortunately, they're not very good resources, and as we're gonna pick up some of the examples throughout the week. But at the CCNA level, it's the best thing you can get. And what I was trying to say with this concept of what do you do, how do you deal with those errors in there because you're not aware of them. That's why basically if you read something and you put it live on devices, you're gonna not only spot what the problems are, you're gonna see that the example was wrong, the configuration was not good, and also if you actually take time to actually map this technology steps with the commands, you're going to also see if Cisco is actually missing some commands or has some extra available commands in there. Because if you aim towards becoming an expert and somebody calls you in to configure a specific feature or technology like an IPsec VPN tunnel, you don't go and put in there configuration wise all of the possible commands just to make sure it works. Because first of all, it may actually not work, and second of all is basically at that point you may actually open up security holes and you may actually expose the customer to specific problems just because you put in there a bunch of extra commands which are not needed for that technology to work the way the customer wants it to work. So that's what's going to end up happening if you go and just copy paste from Cisco's examples commands, then you ping through the tunnel, and if pinging works, it means the tunnel is up and running and it should work. So you should never assume things, just verify. So the more you do this, the more you read even a book or even watch a video or even you read the command reference documentation or whatever you read, the more you just take that knowledge and that after you have understood it, you put it in practice. It's going to be way better for you to just build the knowledge and also spot errors and also see if there are any extra commands which are actually not needed. Cisco presentations are pretty good in general, are very, very good documents actually, this ones. So you go to CiscoLive365.com and you're going to be able to see the PDF file of pretty much all presentations from Cisco Live. Not all of them, but most of them. There are some of them for which you have to pay and you have to be present to be able to get access to those, but most of them are available on their website, and you just need a regular username and password. You don't need special let's say rights. You don't have to be affiliated with a Cisco partner or something like that. It's just a regular user account that you can use to log in and access content from Cisco presentations in both a video format, which is a registration of the session, and also a PDF format, which is basically the presentation itself. And in there you can sort by technology and difficulty level. So just to show you real fast, you can go on Cisco's, let's go fast in here, Cisco Live 365. On demand library, and in here we can either filter by the technology, like based on for example, I want to filter the presentation based on the technology like data center management, or we can filter them based on the year of the event. and the location. In general, multiple filters are highly recommended to be used, or also you can filter them based on, and that's very useful actually, based on the level. Because you have here 3 levels: introductory, which is basic knowledge for specific topics, then you have intermediate, then you have advanced. Which means at this point at the CCNA level, you don't go to the advanced sessions. You first go to introductory. Then if you find yourself comfortable with the knowledge from that presentation, you move on to the intermediate presentation of that technology. And if you find yourself, good enough with the topics as covered at the detailed of the intermediate session, then you move on to the advanced session and gain more knowledge, at least theory, because it's only a presentation. And last but not least, Cisco validated designs, which is found. You can find those at cisco.com/go/cvd, and you can sort those by technologies. Now, as you hopefully you're going to move on and practice and become an expert in the near future, you're going to end up discovering by yourself that basically those design guides, so some of them, actually most of them, are basically built to like a best practices deployment for specific technology. Other of them are built, for example, to be more on the common implementation part of things. So some of them are just saying this is how you should build this technology. Other are just saying this is how the technology is actually being built in most common use cases. So you get to see both of them, which is a very good thing. But now the CVD is basically something that you would go in there at the CCNA level just to basically just out of curiosity, just to try to understand more things than what's presented at the CCNA level or CCNP level. But bottom line is, and what most people are doing, they take those documents as like the whole true and nothing but the true and the only way to do things, and they memorize that around as well. So they believe that, hey, if I know validated design, then I'm an expert in that field, which is very wrong. Because first of all, again, you should focus on technology, and as long as you understand why a technology came up to begin with in the first place. What are the building blocks? How does it work? What are the advanced options? How do those options work? What are their purposes? Why do I have those advanced options? If you understand that inside out, then doesn't matter what is the your customer requirements. Doesn't matter what implementation let's say options you have. You're going to be able to identify first of all the proper solution for your customer, and second, the proper way to implement that solution, which can be close to the validated design of Cisco, or can be so far away than that design of Cisco. If you're gonna try and just grab that knowledge, believing that knowing how those designs, I'm gonna be an expert, you're actually again just fooling yourself for real this time. For example, and it makes sense. Just think about it. To be able to design a network, because those are validated designs, you have to first know inside out how things work. I mean, how can you design a car if you don't know what are the components of the car? How do those components interact with each other? Which one comes first? Which one comes second? I'm not saying you cannot read a validated design car, let's say manufacturing, and understand it, but actually it's just knowledge that you have read. If somebody asks you something close to what you have read, or if a problem shows up in the building process of the car, you're never going to be able to actually troubleshoot and spot what the problem is. We're never going to be able to actually reply to a question which is very closely related to that design guide, but it's not 100% copy pasted the design guide. While if you just know the knowledge, then you don't need to know any validated designs. You just go and see what a customer wants. You have the knowledge, and you tell him how to implement that knowledge, and you implement it for him. So I'm not saying the validated designs are not good documents, are very good documents, but don't try just to absorb the content by memorization and then also behave like being an expert in those fields. It's going to take you a long time till actually you're going to be able to understand exactly why is that design guide the way it is, why the technologies are built in that way, and what happens if you build them in another way.